0-2 pitch. Hit toward third. Castro has it. Spins. Fires. A perfect game. Roy Halladay has thrown the second perfect game in Philadelphia.
Line drive, right center field, base hit.
Ground ball over the mound. Waiting for it. One thing, he booted it. One runner's in. Here comes Bohm to throw. Save!
Hits one in the air, left center field. Back it goes. Harper, the swing of his life. Fastball hits the left. It is long gone. And Hamill to the 3-2 pitch. Swing and a high fly ball deep center field. Herrera back on the track and did he make the catch? He fell down and he's got.
Here's the strike by Robinson. The 3-0 pitch. Swing and long drive. There it is. Number 500. The career 500th home run.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Bell Smashers. I'm Haley.
I'm Jen. You know us.
This is a little bit of a different rotation today because we have on a very special guest. We have on somebody that covers the Phillies and does one of the best jobs in the industry. It is Alex Carr joining us today. So Alex, welcome to the podcast. It might be muted. I'm not sure.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh
Can you hear us?
no! What's happening? Hold on. Let me
Technology.
figure this out. Why can't I hear you guys? This is crazy.
That's weird because we were just talking.
Oh no. What the heck? I could just hear the whole intro, and now I can't hear you guys at all. That's so odd. Let me turn this off. Let's turn this back on. We love a good technical difficulty.
Right?
Oh,
It
there
is
you.
what
What
it
the
is.
hell? That
Hello?
was so weird. Okay. Anyway, we'll cut that out. Great. Hi everyone. I'm here.
After
Holy
I was like
cow.
the best in the industry covering the Phillies, I'll do it again so you can hear it.
Silence.
Oh wow, that's high praise.
Yeah, no, well, okay, I will redo the intro so Alex can hear because I need him to hear all the great compliments I'm about to give. So joining us today, we have Alex Carr, who does one of the best jobs in the industry covering the Philadelphia Phillies. If you guys don't know who Alex is, you're definitely not on Phillies Twitter and you live under a rock. So without further ado, the one, the only, Alex Carr without the technical difficulties.
You guys are so sweet that you had to say it twice, and that's very kind. I'm just happy to be here. That intro, y'all really don't miss a single moment. That's got everything. That's got literally everything, dating back to like 1980. That's pretty good. Yeah. Not gonna lie.
Thanks.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I was like sitting here. I was like, ooh, we got some music playing. I was like, okay. I like reliving every single great moment of Phillies history. That works for me.
Right?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and very high praise. I can't say thank you enough. That's very sweet.
You know me. But before today's episode begins, Kylie is going to tell us a special message.
All right. Well, I'm not going to go too crazy into it, but we are brought to you by Fired Up Sports Network and Manscaped. They just released their hedge trimmer kit, all that good stuff from hair everywhere. They got you covered. Best hair of the, whatever you need, they got you covered. Use promo code BELLSMASH at checkout for 20% off and free shipping, as Alex Carr demonstrated.
Oh, listen, I could probably use one of those.
We've got a beard kit for you, Alex.
I'll use code BELLSMASH. Thank you so much.
There you
go. I take care of it. I do well enough, but Thank you, Manscaped.
So before we had all the technical difficulties, we were talking about spring training, and your Twitter bio obviously says lover of prospects.
Oh yes, that's me.
So
Prospect
the first
King.
right. The first question is, aside from Painter and the big name guys, who's some of the lesser known guys that you've been paying attention to or want people to pay more attention to?
Oh yeah, there's quite a few. That's the kind of exciting thing about the Phillies system right now is, yeah, it's not incredibly deep. It really drops off pretty substantially after around the mid 20s or so. But I mean, I feel like a lot of the guys that really need to be on your radar have appeared in at least one spring training game. So Drew Baker was a big one heading into this season, and a lot of people have kind of hopped on that train a little bit. Obviously, his first appearance, gunning 98 in your first spring training appearance as somebody who's only been in the system for a year or two is a good way to turn some heads, I feel like. But especially when you pair it with his slider is just out of this world. He's very now I say this very lightheartedly. He's very Gilesian. As in Ken Giles, as in he kind of woke up one morning and discovered some command and was like, well, I guess I could do this, and has turned into an absolute strikeout monster. So he's a very, very exciting relief prospect to watch. If you're looking for more of like the under the radar, kind of like, if we're looking at offensive prospects here, Hao-Yu Lee is probably the best bat in the system. He's gotten a lot of attention over the last couple of years. Same can be said for Carlos De La Cruz, who kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, Carlos De La Cruz obviously. Listen. When you're 6'9", you're gonna get a lot of attention in Major League camp.
Yeah.
But also, like, Carlos kind of just woke up one day, like Drew Baker, and said, "Hey, I'm just gonna learn how to hit real quick." And when you are that large and that imposing of a figure in the box, I feel like you're probably, if you can learn a hit tool, you're going to get some attention. And he certainly has, especially, he's not lost in terms of fielding position. Also, I love your cat, Haley. He's not lost in terms of fielding position. I mean, he's covered center field. He's covered the corner outfield. He's obviously getting some reps at first base as of late. So those are two guys from an offensive perspective that should definitely be on people's radar. And outside of Drew Baker, just a personal favorite of mine, I kind of am looking I'm looking very longingly at this Lehigh Valley rotation because it's going to include some really substantial, like Michael Plasmeyer, who started today's spring game, right? He's probably going to be there. Who knows what the eventuality is going to be with Andrew Painter? We pray, good news is on the way.
Have you heard anything about that?
Not I. I don't think one thing that is that everybody knows, I think, at this point about the Phillies is that they are incredibly cryptic when it comes to things like this. Good or bad news, they will always keep everything under wraps until they are ready to say something. I really don't think it's a bad or good thing that we have kind of had updates delayed. I just think that, they're probably being extra careful with how they say the things that they say. Listen, Andrew Painter is not just the Phillies' top prospect. He is probably the top right-handed pitching prospect in baseball, right? So this has more than just Phillies shockwaves to it, right? So this is it's a delicate situation, I'll say. And I think that, we will find out probably today what this eventuality is after the game, I would guess. Just everybody knock on some wood. You cross some fingers, Oh, lovely. We've got another guest. But past that, I'm looking at this Lehigh Valley rotation. Obviously going to include Andrew Painter if he's not on the opening day roster. Obviously going to include Mick Abel at some point or another. Obviously Griff McGarry's going to get a shot. I mean, those are three guys that are really highly touted in the public eye. But then I look at the back end of the rotation and I'm like, hey, Noah Skirrow, who was signed as an undrafted free agent, I think back in 2020, so during the pandemic, shortened draft when it was only 5 rounds, the Phillies signed a litany of undrafted free agents. And Noah Skirrow was one. He was out of Liberty University. He was like the 250th ranked prospect in the whole draft, which, getting a guy like that for on an undrafted deal is pretty okay. He has skyrocketed through the system. He started in, I believe, single A. Maybe he made some complex starts or something like that, but it started in single A. And in 2 years, well, I guess his third year in the minors now, he's projected to start at Triple A. I'm really, really interested in how that Lehigh Valley rotation shakes out. So that's a guy that, we haven't seen him in spring. We haven't really seen him at all. But he's going to be anchoring that rotation. He's going to be giving them some pretty solid innings. Same with Mike Plasmeyer and all those other guys. But that's going to be pretty interesting, I think.
I love that. Go ahead, Haley.
I was going to say, yeah. So from the spring training games that we've had thus far, is there anything substantial that you've noticed about this team that you want to comment on? It could be our starting guys, or it could just be somebody that's been surprising you.
I think my favorite story thus far of the spring has just been watching Alec Bohm. I recently just tweeted about it, but I think it's hard not to get excited about some of the strides that he's taking. Just defensively, he looks every bit the part that he looked last year, right? He looks very, very confident over at the hot corner, which is, thank goodness. That's always great to see. But at the same time, we're starting to see a little bit more pull power. He just had a hard hit, pull double in today's game, RBI double. Always nice to see. Nice to see him blasting some pull happy, inside fastballs for some home runs and an opposite field 382 footer.
Mm-hmm.
That's always nice to see. But on top of everything, I feel like what we weren't really talking about last year, because last year was pretty exciting for Phillies fans, I think. What we weren't really talking about was how Alec Bohm was like a top 6 contact hitter in the sport, in terms of expected batting average, at least. He hit like an expected batting average of 290 or so, which is substantially very good. And his hard contact numbers are great. He doesn't really strike out that much. He's a guy that, with a little bit of extra power tacked on, really could be a very special piece for this team. And I think that, coming into spring, seeing him have a good spring, that's really encouraging if you're a Phillies fan, I think, because you really ideally want him to turn into somebody who's a middle of the lineup presence, right? And on top of that, if he's able to have a glove that, like the guy that we saw in the second half of last year, that starts to get you pretty excited if you're rooting for this team. So I'm intrigued. I would be lying if I were to say I weren't excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you think Alec Bohm is the most underrated current Philly, or are there others that at the top of that list for you?
That is such a hard question, because there are
That's what we do on Bell Smash.
There are so many Phillies players that I would consider publicly underrated, because this fan base is hard on their players, right? Yeah. We look at, somebody as divisive as Rhys Hoskins, and we say, half of the fan base really supports the guy, half of the fan base really doesn't. And there really is no middle ground, right? You don't really feel a middling way about him. You either feel one way or the other. And look, you look at next year's free agent class, Rhys Hoskins is the best bat on the market outside of Shohei Ohtani. Like, that is not a small feat, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like there are a lot of underrated players on this Phillies team, but I do think Alec Bohm is the one that is kind of being glossed over in terms of his overall potential, especially if he can figure out this pull side swing. That's going to be a really interesting development for this team and for him in general. He really, I should stop gushing, but he is an exciting baseball player right now. He is.
He's getting a lot of that coverage with the muscle that he gained and everything. 15. And of course, yeah, that's noticeable. And
I think we all forget that these are also young men, right?
Yeah,
these are young men. Like, I think he's a year older than me. Like, I like to think I haven't hit my athletic stride yet. So give these men some time, please. No, I really, especially when you are, the difference in a minor league baseball player and a major league baseball player is a substantial salary, as well as the aid that you get in taking care of yourself and really becoming an athlete, right? I have a feeling that we are going to start seeing some of these younger guys start to come into their own in terms of athleticism in these coming years. Because let's face it, money is going to make a difference for them when they start taking care of themselves and start really, taking their careers very seriously. Because not every, minor leaguer gets a substantial signing bonus, right? It doesn't happen for everybody. So I think that I think you'll still have some guys returning to camp in best shape of their lives form in the coming years as well. But Alec just happens to be that guy this year.
So the funny thing is, oh, sorry, Kylie.
I was gonna say it's really nice to see Bohm go from what happened in the beginning of the season to just clearly becoming one of the guys. Yeah. It really is, and he's my cousin's favorite player. He's one of my favorite players. Like, from his rookie year was fantastic to see, and then his second year wasn't so fantastic. But second year, sophomore slump, it happens. And then to go from fighting for a roster spot to a bona fide piece of our lineup is really awesome to see within a year.
Yeah, I completely agree. I personally, I think that because Phillies fans are very quick to make their decisions, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes that is a hindrance to some guys' mental fortitude. Sometimes it really motivates them. And I think, as we saw last year, Alec Bohm took what happened in that game against the Mets and turned it into a wonderful confidence boost. And I honestly, I think that was a big, big part of, this team really showed up for him in that scenario, right? Everybody kind of rallied around him. He talked about how Nick Castellanos kind of sat him down and was like, hey, this happens. Like, I sucked at third base too when I was playing for the Tigers. It really does happen. But Alec kind of turned it into this motivational, I'm going to stick it to him kind of thing. And look what he did. I mean, the substantial turnaround post that Mets game is otherworldly. Mm-hmm. It really is. And I am so happy for him. And I hope he continues to build on that, because this is a really, this is a special player if he continues on the progression that he is on currently. Yeah.
So I was going to say, the funny thing is, you did mention Rhys Hoskins. And last season, I tweeted something like, he's going to surprise us all in the playoffs. And somebody tweeted me, I'm not going to say the explicit words, saying, you go pack his bags in the off seasons, both, and kind of went on about how Hoskins sucked, right? So my question to you is, last year, obviously, when he slammed the bat after the homer and, everyone was, Hoskins is the guy again. How do you think the fans are going to react to him this season? Do you think they're going to be more open-minded, or do you think they're going to still be, free agent next year, farewell tour?
I think the ultimate thing that is going to stand out in everybody's mind is the bat spike, right?
Yeah.
He, even during the playoffs, he was booed a couple times, right? It happened. But I think that the mainstay memory is going to be that bat spike. And look, I'm not sure, I think a lot of it depends on his performance. I think that's going to very much affect how his reception from the fan base is. But I do know this. The guy is, 30 years old, facing a walk year. He is, statistically about to reach his prime, as it were. A power hitter with a good eye for the baseball, facing his prime in a walk year, in a year where he is also the second, as I mentioned before, the second most highly touted bat in that free agent class. I think it's going to be hard for him not to perform this year. I think you're going to see a very different Rhys Hoskins, one that is looking more at the future of his career, more so than the future of his Phillies career, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that especially in walk years, guys tend to feel the fire starting to tickle at their backs. And I think that Rhys is the kind of guy that will embrace that and will shock a lot of people. I really do believe that. We say that sometimes because we like the player, we like the person, right? I truly believe we're going to see a very different Rhys Hoskins this year, in that he is going to he's going to be one of this team's most prolific offensive performers, if I had to guess.
Right.
And obviously, and I say this as Alec Bohm just blasted a dead center home run.
Whoa! I just saw it
in the spring training game. So listen,
Homer.
A lot of
Homer,
guys.
Homer.
we love that for the brand. We love that for the brand.
Let's
go.
On brand.
We're gonna have a lot of offense.
Bombastic.
I do think that we're gonna see a lot of long balls for this team, and I think two of those guys that are going to surprise a lot of people are going to be Alec and Reese. I really do believe that.
Well,
Man,
I hope that comes
swing.
true. I like how you think. So,
Yeah.
so I know Jen's gonna have to leave soon. I'm just checking the time. Is there any question that you want to ask Alex before you have to go, Jen?
Oh, thank you so much. I know you answered a lot of my. I actually have a good one for you, Alex. What is your hottest take going into the 2023 season?
My hottest take. Whoa.
Hot take alert.
Whoa.
Bring it on.
That's a tough one. I think that probably my hottest of hot takes is, I would say it's probably that Craig Kimbrell leads the Phillies bullpen in saves. And I think that eventually happens because I love the position that this Phillies bullpen is in, right? I absolutely love it. They have up and down a ton of depth. There's a lot of options to choose from. However, the ninth inning still remains a bit of a mystery. And I am as much a fan of closing by committee as the next guy, but I don't necessarily think you'll find a closer in Jose Alvarado, in Seranthony Dominguez, in Gregory Soto. I think these are guys that really benefit from, I think they like the pressure scenarios, but I think closing a game for somebody who has sometimes erratic command, can be a death knell at times. Meanwhile, the Phillies brought in the active saves leader in the offseason, leads all of Major League Baseball, or active Major League Baseball players in saves.
Derek Hall just home run. Derek Hall just hit a home run.
Our best friend.
Baby.
Listen, you gotta love it. By the way,
that
guy he is truly one of the nicest dudes on that team. Such a great guy. I got to
love him.
Exactly. I talked to him last year. Just such a stud. Love talking to him. Very happy that he's having a great spring as well. However, with all these bullpen arms the Phillies have brought in, I truly believe that the one that is going to have the most impact in the ninth inning is Craig Kimbrell. That might be, who's to say? His velocity has not looked great this spring. That being said, it's very early. But I do think that eventually the Phillies settle into a ninth inning answer. I don't think they will always close by committee. Seranthony could be that guy. Who's to say? I do think last year's laborious workload is going to have an effect on him this year, albeit maybe only in the early part of the season. But to me, Craig Kimbrell really screams like a guy that is going to make a difference for this club. And he has a history outside of the ninth inning for not being very effective. So I think the Phillies are kind of pigeonholed into using him more often than not in the ninth inning. But we'll see. That could very much change.
Well, yeah, I really appreciate that hot take. And
I'm trying.
Yeah, I have to go do something for my day job, but it was so nice talking to you.
And you as well, Miss Jen. Thank you very much for having me. I'm so excited.
Thank you for coming on. I'll leave you with these lovely ladies, and we'll talk
Bring
more
it
on Twitter, I'm sure.
We sure will.
All right. Thanks.
Bye, Jen.
Bye, Jen. We love you, Jen. Okay.
First time I'm not leaving early.
Right?
Wow.
Well, I got all day, so bring it on.
I have not all day.
Yeah, I was exaggerating. I don't have a lot, but
I would hope not.
I got some time. I set some time aside.
Oh, well,
And that long ball homer, that was great.
Gotta love it. I wish we had.
And I was like, "Are you okay, or are you just excited about something?"
Dude, I literally just went to check, because I have it on my laptop. I switched back and forth, and I just saw Hall have a no doubter.
I wish we had StatCast data for this one.
I know.
I wish we did.
I know.
But alas.
But a lot of people, I didn't see that Kimbrel signing coming at all, but I lost my mind when it happened. I was so excited for it.
Yeah, it's an interesting pickup, especially given how this offseason has developed. I think that the Phillies really wanted to shore up the pen a little bit. I think it hasn't come back to bite them, I wouldn't say, but
Right.
it has it's infringed on their flexibility a little bit. If they want to carry Andrew Painter, a Major League Baseball team can only have maximum 13 pitchers on the staff for an opening day roster, right? So
Right.
You kind of start to look at how many guaranteed contracts they have on the books, and there's not a lot of flexibility here, especially when you look at the addition of Noah Song, especially when you look at wanting to squeeze Andrew Painter into this opening day roster. It is getting a little tight. That being said, I do think that the additions of Kimbrel and Strum were really strong. Obviously, this bullpen was very effective down the stretch last year. I don't think that's going to change, especially in the case of Jose Alvarado, especially in the case of Sir Anthony Dominguez, especially in the case of guys like Andrew Bellotti and Connor Brogdon. Connor Brogdon, who has not allowed a hit all spring, which is pretty great. And there goes, was that Jake Cave? Jake
I
Cave
think
just
so.
hit a home run. There you go. I mean,
Amazing.
it's a long ball fest in the 6th inning here.
Wow.
Forget defense, hit dingers.
I mean, that has been the motto, right? But
That was
I
good.
really do. I do think this bullpen is going to shake out in a way that I think it will have a lot more cemented roles than we originally thought. And I think that that's going to manifest itself in probably a solidified 9th inning. But yeah, I think the Kimbrel signing is great, and obviously the Dombrowski connection is strong with that one. So
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see how it pans out. It's going to be an interesting one, I think.
Right, because last
better or worse.
season, I mean, there's no denying it. The Houston series, we saw a lot of weakness in the bullpen, and for the Phillies to come out and to really attack the situation, and there's not much of a situation. It was just the lack of depth, and when you're playing in these high intensity type of games, you're going to need a guy that can be solid in the 9th or the later innings. So I do like what they did, but it still kind of concerns me just a little bit with guys like Jose or Sir Anthony, because again, we saw so much inconsistency. And Alex, this is a good way for you maybe to tell us how, but how do you think they're going to get past that maybe mindset of, you know what, we were so inconsistent, in the World Series? How do we prove to Philadelphia once again that we have the capability of being those good relievers?
I do think that it's funny to be an erratic pitcher is quite an interesting thing, because there's so much that goes into pitching out of the bullpen in a late game scenario, particularly a close game scenario, right? There is so much mental fortitude that it requires. Not that I would know, but just from what I've been told, it's a big spot, right? And to be somebody who can't 100% trust their command all of the time, that can make for a difficult scenario. However, I do think that the Phillies went about it the right way, in that they went out, they acquired a veteran late inning arm, right? Craig Kimbrel, again, active MLB saves leader. It doesn't really get much more, lockdown than that in terms of mental fortitude. Kimbrel is an unwavering presence on the mound, despite how his performance might shift from save scenarios to non-save scenarios. The guy has the experience that you're looking for, right? So going out and making a priority to acquire an arm like that is a pretty good way to say, hey, we are going to lock down the back end of this bullpen with guys that are experienced in these scenarios, right? And already the Phillies, not that I need to reiterate this, but the Phillies went to the mother-loving World Series last year, right? Like that is something they exceeded so many expectations, but they also gave their entire roster postseason experience.
Yes.
And to the utmost degree, right? The biggest stage in the world against easily the best team in baseball. And they gave him a fight, right? Like they didn't go down in 4 games. So it's a really interesting dynamic to look back on, because now these guys have gotten their fair taste of the postseason, right? All of them too. The roster is, for the most part, the same, right? So you are looking at now a team of guys that know what it's like to pitch and play in the biggest scene of baseball and on the biggest stage. So I think that even though inconsistency is a worry for any team, right? Because when you side with stuff over command, you're going to find some inconsistencies in there. However, I do think that giving the team the experience of pitching on that kind of a stage is going to do volumes for their fortitude in terms of pitching in big game scenarios.
Awesome.
Yeah, it goes way more than it goes way more than just being able to just be a closer. It's the mental aspect. And with that Kimbrel signing, not only is he the guy that has the mental aspect, but he can help the other guys with that as well. I think it's such a huge signing that goes deeper than just him as a player.
Sure. And honestly, that's kind of why, but prior to the offseason start, I kind of was looking at free agent options out there on the open market. Justin Verlander really stuck out to me in terms of somebody who, could be a mentor for the Phillies litany of right-handed pitching prospects that have often been compared to the same guy, to Justin Verlander throughout their prospect careers. So that was something that really stuck out to me, and I thought maybe they would look for some sort of veteran right-hander that has experience throwing, a pretty good fastball. I thought that they would look for somebody of that type of pedigree to kind of act as a mentor. And while Kimbrel is not a starting pitcher, I do think that especially for some of these guys that maybe are a little younger or don't have the experience that he has, he's going to serve as an incredible mentor because he's been in some of the biggest scenarios in the game and he's performed really well. And then he's been in some of those other big scenarios where he hasn't performed well. And he knows both sides of that coin. And we all know that, especially in Philadelphia, those big scenes can either be your calling card for your career, or they can be what people kind of malevolently remember you for, right? So it's going to be really interesting. But I do think that, this pitching staff now is assembled of guys that all know what they're doing. And it's an incredible environment to inject some youth into, right? When you talk about Painter, when you talk about Abel, when you talk about McGarry.
Well, Alex, I just want to say thank you for coming on today. And I know that Jen had to leave a little bit early, but everything that you said was super insightful and gave us a lot of excitement for this season as we're going to look forward to seeing Alex Bohm thrive, since we know that that's what we believe in. And feel free to come on the podcast whenever you want. We would love to have you back. And
always,
can you tell the people where to find you?
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at AlexCarrMLB. You can also, I have a Discord that, I am sometimes in, that I interact with folks a little bit more interpersonally and in that little community. So I like doing that. I'm also on Twitch every now and again, at Take a Balk. You can find the links all in my bio. But thank you guys for having me on. It was a really, I love doing podcasts. So anytime you need somebody, I'll be around. Don't even worry. Thanks for having me.
I'll be sure to hit you up.
Of course. Always.
And yes, obviously, thank you. This was a ton of fun, and I look forward to the season and having you on again.
It's gonna be a good one. I think I think you guys will have a good one. I'm excited just as much as you are.
All right. Again, thank you guys. We will see you next episode, which I guess is this coming Friday.
Peace out.
Peace out.